Okay, the next question is, when you see someone pull up in a red Lamborghini, what are your first thoughts? I wonder, that's nice. I don't really care about cars. I wouldn't really care. I can't tell you my first thought right now. Okay, imagining it, someone pulls up, I would probably think, I wonder if he's happy. I wonder if that car is still making him happy. Because I bet you the first few months and year it probably did. But then, maybe the euphoria wore off. Maybe that was his dream car. Maybe it was her dream car. Maybe they've spent their whole life requiring to get to this, and now they've got it, and this is it. This is that moment. And then I would think, I wonder if they work really hard to pay for this car. Is their whole... for me, I used to have a Nissan Sentra, and I used to have to make so much payment. So expensive. I had a 12% interest rate, which I knew nothing about interest rate at the time. And I was paying $12,000 for a car that was worth about $7,000 or $8,000. So I was paying about $4,000 in interest, which was basically half of what the car was worth, since the car was regularly an $8,000 car. I was paying $12,000 for it. I didn't understand about principal and interest rates, and where if I was paying a $300 a month payment, $290 of that was going straight to the interest rate, and barely anything was being taken off the principal balance, the whole amount that I owed. It's crazy now, knowing what I know now. I'm pretty sure somebody probably tried to explain that to me, but pulling up in the red Lamborghini, I would wonder if this person was a slave to their car. Were they a slave to the money? And then I would change my thought and think, I bet you it makes them happy, or whatever makes you happy. I guess we all strive for... I just always wonder when I see somebody in a big house, if the people who live in it are fulfilled spiritually and on a emotional level of contentment. My sister's going through a lot right now. Everything with her ex-husband or her husband, and I'm watching her, and I know this sounds terrible, but I think, oh man, I'm really glad I don't have her problems. And I know that sounds terrible, and I try to help her find solutions, but I'm also watching her, that this is a crucial moment for her in her life, that these are the things that are going to help shape her and change her. And she kept asking for change and wanted change, and the thing is that sometimes when we ask for change, it doesn't come to us all comfy and cozy. It's usually a big giant slap in the face, and you're just left standing there holding your cheek, wondering who the fuck just gave you that big reality check. And it's the universe saying, you know what? You weren't happy. You weren't doing anything about it. So now here's some massive change, and I want you to take some massive action. And that's what she has to do now. She's rebuilding her quote-unquote life, and she thinks her life is shit, and that everybody's such a piece of shit, and she's just blaming everybody. And I was once that girl. I can see that girl in her that was once in me. And while I'm here for her, the complaining starts to get very annoying. And I think to myself, okay, Angela, use this as a tool to make sure that you're not constantly complaining. For every one thing you complain about, you need to have 3 things that you're grateful for. And I just think that her life isn't what she thinks it is. It's just that she's seeing her life from the inside of her mind, that she's wanting things to be so different than they are versus accepting them kind of how they are unraveling, and knowing that there is faith and there is a light at the end of the darkness. The rain doesn't rain forever. And without the rain, you never get the rainbow. You never get that promise of what it was all for. And I know a few years ago, I was living at my mother's house with my 3-month-old, and I had nothing. I didn't have anything. I literally had a back, but I didn't have stuff. I had a lot of emotional baggage I was carrying around, a lot of anger for my ex, a lot of worry, which I traded in all of those things for forgiveness on a level that I'm able to forgive right now for him, for gratefulness that my mother was willing to let me stay there, for a summer that was fun because I was around my family and I wasn't alone. I had people who were there. I had a job that, while it wasn't the greatest thing, it was still something. I still had something, I had an opportunity. Granted, I ended up getting fired, but that's a whole nother thing to assess. pretty sure I was going to quit anyways. I always found, I want to change that belief. I think I self-sabotage myself from work environments. I don't necessarily like working for other people because I don't always like the way that they do things. I see things on a bigger picture and people see things on a smaller scale. And while I can appreciate the way people do things, sometimes I think that they are idiots. And I don't know that that belief's going to change anytime soon. But that's not what I'm here to work on today anyways. But I traded in my emotional baggage of a lot of fear for faith. I knew that something wonderful was going to come along. And I knew that even though everybody was pushing me to stay with my ex Vito because it would have been the convenient, easy thing to do, like my mother was like, just get a place with him, just go live with him. I didn't want that for my life. I knew that I was going to be in a scary, uncomfortable position, but that if I wanted real change, I was going to have to make it. And it was a hard time in my life to live with my 3-month-old. My mother says it wasn't the hardest time of my life. I wouldn't sit back and say it was the worst thing I've ever endured. I got most of all the material things I've owned in my whole life were left in that garage in North Carolina, and I don't have them anymore. And I took the most important things with me, my blanket that I spoke about earlier and my son. And I just didn't look back. I don't look back on my past too much and concern myself with it. I've noticed that about myself. I actually have noticed, and I like that quality of myself. I don't spend a lot of time in the past. I do spend a lot of my time in the future worrying or thinking or planning. And I am in this prime time of my life where I'm learning to think differently about the future, to plant seeds for a different future, to take different course of actions with the knowledge that I'm obtaining now for the future. I'm still doing a lot of self-help work. I think that's extremely important. I don't know if a lot of people do what I'm doing right now. I know a lot of people do what I'm doing right now, but I would like to see more people do what I'm doing. Like, really sit with yourself and question who you are and why you are the way you are. I also feel like these questions are helping me, though. Like, this woman, unknowingly, wherever she was, created this, and I purchased it. I paid $27, I think, for it. At first, my thoughts were, oh, I can't afford this, blah, blah, this, But then I thought, I need to invest in myself, and this could be a great investment in myself. She was speaking my language. She was talking about limiting beliefs, and I really wanted to get to the core of things. And while therapists, I think, are great for some people, I sometimes am my best therapist. And this woman is like therapy. She's asking me questions, and then I'm doing my best to... I'm the only one who really knows me, right? I'm the only one who knows how I used to think, or who I used to be, or what used to be of important, what is no longer important, my own habits, traits. I can see what's coming. And I feel like I've had a great breakthrough in an area of growth where Ryan told me that I was mean, and that sometimes I say really mean things, and we got into this conversation, and for the first time we're in a relationship, I was afraid of losing him. And a gigantic part of me did not like that. Loving somebody so much that you're afraid to lose them. So I heard this voice in my head trying to stuff those feelings away and being like, oh, whatever, you don't need them. Just leave, and just who gives a shit? You can just move on. But then I listened to that other soft voice that I never really heard in the past, and it was like, maybe he's right, maybe this is an area for you to grow. Maybe you should start to change. Because as I was standing there, I felt like it was one of my past relationships unraveling and unfolding all over again, where I back then got defensive and my ego took over, and I couldn't admit my faults. On the other day, I admitted that maybe my problems are being projected onto other people, and how do you heal someone who's so broken? And it's hard to heal when people outside of you don't know the experiences that you've been through that have created all these shattered pieces of glass remaining all around you, and all you're doing is sitting on the floor with your hot glue gun, trying to reassemble what once was, or this idea of what something once was, when maybe the best thing to do is kind of just like leave the pieces alone and walk away. I feel like there's lots of parts of myself that I just need to let go of and leave, and I think those parts of me were once important for my own survival. That's why I developed this character, Angela, or these behaviors, because I thought that I needed her. But as I'm getting older, I feel like some of my personality I don't need anymore. I don't need to run when I'm faced with problems. I can sit, and I should learn to speak and voice my feelings. I don't need to yell, and I should be more willing to grow and change. I don't believe willing, growing, and changing so much that you become complacent or you become just like this person for somebody else, their idea of someone, that you have no choice in who you are. But being big enough to see that you aren't in need of whatever it was that you were once carrying around with you. I have a fear that he might give up on me before time can really help me heal. I don't enjoy that feeling of thinking that somebody doesn't love me for the same qualities that I don't love myself. So I try to love myself for all of who I am, and I forgive myself. I try to be better and more understanding with myself, and if somebody was to leave me because I am broken, then I would have to remember that the most important love that I'll ever need to feel is the love I have for myself. And I've spent a really, really long time not loving myself, not even liking myself, which sounds crazy when you think about it, because why would you, the one person who's sharing this experience with yourself, not like yourself? It just seems so absolutely insane to be like, I don't like myself. Well, if you don't like yourself, then who could ever possibly like you or love you enough to where you would? What kind of person would you become if you didn't fully love yourself? What people would you allow into your life? And how would those people treat you? Spending a lot of your life assuming that someone outside of you will love you enough that you love yourself can be extremely damaging, because if that person is gone, then they take that love with them, and then what are you left with? Where's that love? I want to make certain to love myself and never have that expectation of somebody else loving me enough that it would make me whole. I am the love that I need.